So in this one we have 3 chapters. First chapter is arithmetic and assignment. So in last video we learned how to create variables and store them, right? But what if we have to do something with that data? Then that's where our operators comes in. Operators are the symbols that perform actions on data. They let you add, subtract, divide, assign values, and combine expressions. And in this chapter, we cover arithmetic operators, assignment, shortcuts, and increment decrement operations. Okay. So first we have arithmetic operators. First one is plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, forward slash, and then we have modulus. Okay, and this one will return reminder of division. One important thing, the integer division trap. This is a common source of bugs in Java. Dividing an int by an int produces an int. Okay, Java truncates the decimal part entirely. So if you are dividing 5 by 2, then you will not get 2.5. What you will get is 2. Okay, because both operands are integers. Java returns an integer. It does not round, it truncates 0.5, and we can fix that. You can cast one operand to double before dividing. Okay, that's fine. Now you will get 2.5. Okay, let's understand our modulus operator. The modulus operator returns the remainder of a division. So if you divide 10 by 3, then you will get 1. And common use case, modulus is the standard way to check if a number is even or not. And you have done this a lot if you have done little bit DSA. Okay. Now assignment operators. In math, equals mean is equals to. In Java, equal means assign this value to this variable. Java provides compound assignment operators that combine an arithmetic operation with assignment. Okay, what is compound assignment operator? Now let's see our first one, which is equals to. Example, x equals to 5. We can assign this value, completely fine. Okay, now what if you want to add something in your current value? This is what our compound assignment operators do. So let's say you have this x value previously, let's say 5 here. Okay, now you want to add something and you want to assign that final value to your current value. Okay, so x plus equals to 3 means, let's say you have this value initially and now you will get x equals to 8. Okay, from this operation, and this one is same as x equals to x plus 3. Okay, same we have this one, same we have this multiplication. Okay, now increment and decrement. The plus plus and minus minus operators add or subtract one from a variable. They are commonly used in loops or counters. Then we have two cases like where you are using this operator, like prefix or postfix, right? Postfix means uses the current value first and then increments. Okay, and prefix means increments first and then uses the new value. Okay, best practice is avoid using plus plus inside complex expressions. It makes code harder to read. Maybe we can do some code practice for that case, I guess. Just do something printing here. That will be a equals to negative 128. So what we can do is we can print a plus plus, right? And here we can print negative negative a. Okay, so let's see. We have this a equals to negative 128 and we did plus plus. That means here first we use that, so we got 128. Okay, then we increment that. Now our value will be negative 127, right? But here we are doing subtraction first, so our value became again 128, and then we print that. I hope you got the understanding here. Okay, now let's move to our next chapter, which is logic and comparisons. So far our code runs from top to bottom. That's fine, doing exactly the same thing every time, but real software needs to make decisions. To make these decisions, Java uses Boolean logic. Every condition must evaluate to either true or false. So for that we have comparison operators. First one is double equals to. Okay, that means if x equals to our y, that means we will get true, but in this case we will get false. Okay, not equals to, in this one we have different values. That means this condition is true, so we'll get true. Greater than, less than. So the assignment versus equality trap. A common mistake is confusing equals to with double equals to. This means that assign 5 to x. This one is assignment and this one is comparison. Okay. Writing if x equals to 5 will cause a compilation error in Java since the result of an assignment is not a boolean. Then we have logical operators. So logical operators combine multiple Boolean expressions into a single result. First we have AND operator, returns true if both sides are true. Then we have OR operator. Okay, so these are logical OR operators, not bitwise OR. For bitwise OR, we had to do only one pipe operator here. Okay, so remember that double pipe means logical OR, single pipe means bitwise OR. Okay, same goes for AND operator as well. And this one is NOT operator. Okay, reverses the result, true becomes false and otherwise. Now, short circuit evaluation. So Java evaluates logical operators from left to right and stops as soon as the result is determined. In AND, if first condition is false, Java does not evaluate the second. Okay. The result is already false. Same goes for OR. If the first condition is true, then Java does not evaluate the second. The result is already true. Okay. And we will get that from left to right. So we call this behavior short circuit evaluation. It improves performance and also useful for null safety checks. Okay. First you can check null, and if our user is null, then we will not proceed further. Like we will not call any method on that, because if our user object is null, instance is null, then calling that method will call null pointer exception. Okay, so we can avoid that by using this condition. Now we have one ternary operator, very important in some cases. Now we have ternary operator. The ternary operator is a concise alternative to a simple if-else statement, and we have not seen if-else as well. Okay, but like this one is very simple, you know already. So it evaluates a condition and returns one of two values. Okay, now we have one example here. Let's say we have one string object status, and also we have some other variable, okay, score. So we have two conditions here. If our score is greater than 50, then we want to assign this one, and otherwise we want to assign this one. With ternary operator, we can do that in one line. Okay, and this one is considered a better way, right? So we can use ternary operator for simple assignments. For complex logic, we can also use if else. Okay, now let's discuss one more important thing, comparing strings. So you can do these operations on primitive types, okay, like these comparison operators. But if you try to do this on objects, let's say specifically on string object, that means in all other operators you will get some error, right? But in this one is one special syntax for object. So never use this one to compare string content, because this one will check if two references point to the same object in memory. Okay. So you can use this dot equals, and we will study this one in our string topic as well. So don't worry for that. So let's say we have one string, this one, and we have string 2, which is this one. And if you use that, then we will get false, because here we use new keyword. That means we are creating new object in our heap. Okay. And we are assigning new reference for that. And this one check reference, not value, so we will get false here. And if we check value, then we can use the syntax dot equals, and this time we will get true, same content. For primitives, use this one. For objects like string, scanner, for custom types, always use dot equals. Now let's move to our next chapter, which is user input. So to build interactive applications, we need to accept input from the user. Okay, and in Java, we have two primary ways to do that. First one is scanner, simple and convenient. Okay. Second one is buffered reader. This one is faster and more efficient. So we have this class scanner, and if you know what class is, that's fine. And if you don't know, that's still fine. Just remember the syntax. Okay, for now. So the scanner class provides methods to read different data types directly. It is part of our java.util package. So you can import that. Then you can create your object, create a scanner object and connect it to system.in, standard input from the keyword. Okay. And we will do much more detailed explanation on buffered reader in our later part of our series. So don't worry about that. So you can create your object and then you can read data from keyboard. So use specific methods depending on data type you need. enter your name, and then you can read your next line. So reads a full line of text. Enter your age, so reads an integer, right? That's fine, but we have one pitfall for that. So let's copy those things, and we can do that. We need to create our object for that. So we are getting one suggestions, and our import is already done, right? IntelliJ do some things automatically. So now let's compile this one. And if you run this one, then you will get one prompt, okay, basically. So enter your name, let's say ABC, and enter your age, let's say 12, right? So that's how we can do that. Now we have one pitfall here, which is new line pitfall, okay? So this next int only read integer value, right? So let's see that. And this one is the most common issue when using scanner. So if you read a number using next int, then immediately call next line. You are expecting from next line that you will get one string value, right? But our next int left \n hanging in our buffer, right? So the second call returns an empty string instead of waiting for an input. Why this happens? When you type 25 and press enter, the input stream receives 25 and also new line, right? And next int method consumes only 25, leaving \n new line character in the buffer, and the subsequent call next line reads that leftover and returns immediately. You can fix that. You can add one extra new line call to consume the leftover new line. Okay, you can read that number here, and then you can consume your next line, okay, or leftover from your buffer. Then you can read next line properly. And if you want to see some code practice for that, then we can do that as well. What we can do here is string m equals to sc dot next line. Okay, and what we can do is we can print that system dot out dot compile this one and run this one. Enter your name ABC, enter your age 12. So you can see that we did not get any choice to type our this m string, okay, because this one took \n, okay, from buffer. And if you just add something sc dot next line, this time we will get one prompt to enter one string, okay. Now run this one. We have name ABC, age 12, so we are getting here one testing, right? So we provided that and we got this, okay. So this one is one case with scanner class. Okay, now let's move to our next type, which is buffered reader. Buffered reader is an older, lower level approach that reads input as raw text. It is significantly faster than scanner because it reads data in a large buffered chunks. Usually that will be 8 KB, okay, but you can change that rather than parsing tokens individually, okay. And we will discuss buffer reader in detail in our later part of series. So we can set up this one same thing. We need system.in for raw byte stream from the keyboard, and we also need input stream reader to convert bytes to characters, and then we need buffer reader to buffers characters for efficient reading. This one is like doing layer by layer work, right? System.in for reading from keyboard, then input stream reader to converting, and buffer reader to get buffers, okay. This one is one syntax, and you can import that from java.io package, and this one is from io package, not util. Then you can read that using .readLine method. Parsing numbers, since it reads strings, then you must manually parse numeric values. Integer.parseInt input, convert string 25 to int 25. Then we have same other methods like parse double, okay, something like that. IO exception handling. Buffered reader interacts directly with the IO streams, which can fail. So you must declare throws IO exception on your method signature. And this one is checked exception, okay. We will see these kind of things in our exception handling, all right. Must notice that we have to add here this one, okay. Now let's use that as well. You can copy this one and you can paste that here. We have to import this class, also this one. Okay, now we can read something. String s equals to br dot read line, and then we can print that. Okay, we are getting one warning, that is unhandled exception, because this one is checked exception, so we must handle that. So one way to handle that is using method signature. Okay, and other way to do that using try catch blocks. Okay, now we are good. Compile this one and testing from br, and we got that. Okay, okay, now we have difference scanner versus buffer reader. First one is speed. So scanner is slower because it parses tokens as it reads. Okay, buffer reader is faster because it reads buffered chunks. Next we have ease of use. So this one is simple because we have some convenient methods for integers, for boolean, okay, for string. But for buffer reader, here we only read as string, so we need to do that manual parsing. Okay. For scanner, we have buffer size of 1 KB. For buffer reader, we have 8 KB. Then exceptions, it throws unchecked exceptions. Okay. And our buffer reader throw checked exceptions. That means we must handle those exceptions. Okay. Now best for general applications, console input, and this one is best for competitive programming and large file processing. Now let's move to our next topic, which is strings and string method.